Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Bobby Valentine Sports Show, episode 29 and week 13 of the NFL season. Let's jump right into it with our weekly recap of the NFL season. Week 13 this week was. So this was a great week for football and a great week for sports in general, as college football bowl weekend just ended. College basketball is now in full swing. A bunch of great matchups going on each and every night, and the NFL season is getting down to the very end of it. So very great week for sports, great week for the NFL and college football as a whole, football in general. And we'll start with our play of the day. So there was a bunch of good games this week. A tough task for me to pick the game of the week. Not very easy. Didn't really know what to go with. There was 3-4 options here, honestly. And all three of the 4 options, 3 of them were primetime football games. Thursday night, unreal game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Seattle Seahawks. Sunday night, another great game in Lambeau Field between the Green Bay Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs. And then last night, Monday night, another great game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals in Jacksonville. So 3 great games, and then another overtime game on Sunday as well. So a great week for football. Tough for me to choose the game of the day, or game of the week, but we'll see what I choose. One of those options was this Packers Chiefs game that I touched on. Unbelievable game by Jordan Love. He has looked very good over the course of the last 4 to 5 weeks. Okay, week 1 against the Bears, he looked really good, but that defense, that team has not been great so far this season, so that can maybe be a little bit tough. And after that, he went through a little bit of a struggle for him, but this is really his first time ever playing as the starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. So maybe a little bit of growing pains there. In the past 5-6 weeks, he's been unbelievable. But we'll jump into it here. Third quarter, about 5.5 minutes to go here. 4th and 1 going in at the Kansas City 45-yard line. So Jordan Love takes the snap, looks left, and he makes one of those Aaron Rodgers throws off his back foot, and it just drops right into Romeo Doubs' lap in between 3 defenders. Just drops it right in the bucket up between all those guys. Great throw from Jordan Love. Looked like prime Aaron Rodgers there. 2 plays later, 2nd and 11. Love drops back again, throws one to the right side of the end zone to Christian Watson, who climbs the ladder and makes an unbelievable catch. How did that ball fit into that spot? I have no idea. Couldn't have been placed any better. Christian Watson went up to catch it, and the defender's hand, the ball went literally inches above his hand. Unbelievable throws from Jordan Love, 2 in a row on a great drive to extend the lead to 21-12 against the Chiefs, where they ended up able to come away with a victory on Sunday Night Football against Patrick Mahomes and the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. So Jordan Love looking a little bit like Aaron Rodgers, making those crazy throws where he's kind of off his back foot, like jumping. 2 in a row there on that drive. Very impressive stuff from him. I was not expecting that, to be honest, and I was very impressed by Jordan Love. Okay, so that was our play of the day. That's our weekly recap. We're going to jump into the game of the week now. And like I said, this was a tough task for me. That Chiefs-Packers games was an option. The Cowboys-Seahawks game was an option. And the Colts-Titans game was an option. But ultimately, I decided to go with the Monday Night Football clash last night from the Jaguars and the Bengals in Jacksonville. Overtime affair, the first primetime overtime game of the season. First one in a while. I don't even know when the last one was, but pretty entertaining stuff. And if you wanted to know, last night, Monday, December 4th, that was my birthday, so maybe it was for me. A little bit of luck there for me. But first primetime overtime game of the year, let's get right into it. Starting off here in the first quarter, first drive of the game here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is going to shovel one to the outside to Travis Etienne. I almost said Trevor. He's still in college at Florida. He barrels his way into the end zone for the first score of the day, 7-0 Jacksonville. So, first drive of the day for the Jags ends in a touchdown. We'll go to the first drive of the day for the Bengals. After moving into Jacksonville territory and getting stopped, Evan McPherson comes out to try a 57-yard field goal attempt. No gimme, definitely not. And it is up, and it nails the crossbar. So, kind of a fun fact here. This was their first drive of the game, the Bengals, and they missed a field goal off the crossbar, right? If you remember, last week, Jacksonville's game ended with a Matt Amendola field goal from Houston hitting the crossbar. So that's 2 straight field goal attempts against the Jacksonville Jaguars hitting the crossbar in a row. Pretty weird, but just thought I'd throw that in there. So, jumping ahead now. Bengals force a punt, get the ball back, drive all the way down inside the 10-yard line of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And on first and goal, they're going to do an inside handoff here to Joe Mixon, who's going to fight through two tacklers and force his way into the end zone. First score of the day for the Bengals, ties the game up at 7-7. So Jags get the ball, tie ball game now. They move into just outside the red zone into Bengal territory. Little tight end screen here to Evan Ingram, who's been very good for Jacksonville this year. Cuts it down the left sideline and leaps into the end zone. 14-7 Jacksonville, and that's the first touchdown of the year for Evan Ingram, who's been very productive but just unable to find the end zone. So 14-7 Jacksonville, and the Bengals get the ball back yet again. Drive the ball all the way down inside the red zone, inside the 10-yard line to the 5 of the Bengals, of Jacksonville. And yet again, Jake Browning's going to do an inside handoff to Joe Mixon, this time untouched, walks into the end zone. His second touchdown of the game, 14-14. Joe Mixon ties it up by himself, 14-14 Bengals, Jacksonville. So a lot of early offense in this game, drives that were going back and forth, a lot of ties, lead changes, back and forth affair here. So this game was pretty entertaining to watch, if I do say so myself. So moving ahead now, Bengals force a stop, get the ball back for Jake Browning. And on 3rd and 2 from their own 24-yard line, Jake Browning looks deep down the left sideline for Jamar Chase, drops it in the bucket beautifully, and he's off to the races. Jamar Chase gone for a 76-yard touchdown to put the Cincinnati Bengals up 21-14 here in the first half of this ball game. Early second half of this ball game, as this was 11 minutes, 50 seconds to go in the third quarter. Bengals take the lead 21-14. Next possession for Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence made a lot of great passes on this play. One to Zay Jones, fit into a tight window. Another one to Zay Jones later in the drive to work them all the way into the red zone. And on a 3rd down and 9 from the 14-yard line, Trevor Lawrence drops back, lofts one to the middle of the end zone, tipped up into the air, and it is caught by Parker Washington. The first career touchdown by Parker Washington is a tipped juggling catch in the back of the end zone to tie the game at 21 here in the third quarter. So, great play from Parker Washington, great throw from Trevor Lawrence. A little bit of luck there as the ball was tipped up by the defender. Parker Washington was able to maintain control, maintain his concentration, and come down with it with one cheek inbound. Shout out to John Madden. 1 cheek equals 2 feet. Bengals get the ball, and the first play of the Bengals drive after Jacksonville ties it up, Jake Browning's going to throw one into the flat. Tyler Boyd looking like he's going to throw. He throws it back across the field, but he throws it right to Josh Allen. Looked like he was trying to get Joe Mixon there for a double reverse there, wide receiver pass, but he throws it right to Josh Allen. Easiest interception of Josh Allen's life. Jacksonville already set up inside the Bengals' 20-yard line. I don't know what the Bengals were thinking there. You got a second-string quarterback as it is. He's been having a good day. Why would you want your third-string receiver to be throwing passes, even though when you're in that situation? I'm not really sure, but crazy play there from Jacksonville. Bengals make a huge mistake setting up Jacksonville all the way inside the 20-yard line, right after they just tied up the game. So not ideal. So a few plays later, Jacksonville drives it down all the way to the 1-yard line, and Trevor Lawrence is going to do one of those QB sneaks, jumps over the pile because he's huge. He's 6'6". He breaks the plane, ball's bouncing around there, but they ruled that he does get in. Breaks the plane. And now we'll move ahead to the next Cincinnati possession. This brings us into the fourth quarter now. And after Jamar Chase dropped a 3rd and 3 pass from Jake Browning right in the hands, 4th and 3 from the 10-yard line, the Bengals elect to go for it. Jake Browning rolls out of the pocket to the right, flips one to Jamar Chase. This time he's got it, fights his way down to the 2, maybe the 3-yard line. Huge conversion there for Cincinnati on 4th and 3. And then on 2nd and goal, Jake Browning takes the QB sneak into that mad rugby scrum. Can't really see anything going on here. Referees couldn't see anything that was going on here, but trust me, they ruled it a touchdown, 28-28 on the Jake Browning QB sneak. So Cincinnati's been hanging around all day, refusing to go away, tying the game here in the fourth quarter. Next, Jacksonville possession. They work the ball all the way down inside of Cincinnati territory, down to the 24-yard line. 3rd and 11 from the 24. Trevor Lawrence gets the snap, and he gets stepped on by his left tackle, and an awkward landing from him. Trevor Lawrence goes down injured. Nothing that any NFL fan wants to see, especially if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, as their face of the franchise is limping into the tunnel. Not sure why they didn't have the card out for him, but we're going to see the replay here as Trevor Lawrence was looking to throw left. His left tackle steps on his ankle there. He falls with all of his weight awkwardly on top of his knee, lower leg. Not ideal to see there from Trevor Lawrence. He will leave the game and will not return. So that was the third down. Jacksonville's forced to kick here, 48-yard attempt by Brandon McManus. Fades to the right. So an unfortunate situation. All the air out of the stadium was just taken away as their franchise star quarterback goes down. This game was back and forth all day long. Cincinnati finally ties it up, 28-28. You're going in to go take the lead again. Franchise star quarterback goes down, and then you miss a 48-yard attempt to go up with 5 minutes left to go in the game. So unfortunate situation there for Jacksonville. Air came out of the stadium. Place was silent there. So Cincinnati gets the ball back in a tie game with the chance to go up late in the fourth quarter. So 3rd down and 1 for Cincinnati later in this drive. Jake Browning fakes the handoff, rolls out to the right, and he's going to take off and get it with his legs. And he cuts back to the left side for a huge gain, 25-yard run on 3rd and 1 from Jake Browning, looking like he's back at Washington. What a play from him, making a play with his legs. Unbelievable stuff from Jake Browning, keeping the drive alive. Later on in the drive, after a couple nice throws from Jake Browning, setting up a 54-yard attempt from Evan McPherson. No gimme. He missed from 57 before. This time, nails it straight through there. 31-28 lead for Cincinnati here with 2.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. So a huge missed field goal from Brandon McManus allows Cincinnati to come back down the field. Jake Browning makes a couple plays. Evan McPherson nails a field goal. 31-28. 2.5 minutes to go. No Trevor Lawrence for this Jacksonville offense. So C.J. Beathard, the former Iowa product, played a couple games for the San Francisco 49ers over his time in the NFL. Veteran now, comes in, steps up in a huge spot. So first play of the drive for C.J. Beathard in the Jaguars. I keep messing the names up. First play of his season, rolls left, running for it, and he fumbles, loses the ball, almost picked up by the Bengals, and it thankfully picked up by Parker Washington, the rookie who came with a huge play earlier in this game. But the first play from C.J. Beathard almost ends this ball game as the Jaguars only had one timeout. Still on the plus side of the 2-minute warning here, but one timeout for Jacksonville. Fumble on the first play would have been huge. C.J. Beathard, almost a nightmare scenario, fumbles on his first snap and bangs up his hand. They see him grabbing his hand after this play. But, I mean, we need to figure this out here now because not good. But C.J. Beathard, after that first play, a pretty wild play, he almost loses the game for his team, able to settle in, dink and duck his way down the field in a nice methodical drive that ends up stalling out around the 20-yard line, but it sets up a field goal from Brandon McManus from about 40 yards away. 40-yard attempt. And Brandon McManus, with about 28 seconds left to go in the ball game, nails the 40-yard field goal attempt to tie up the ball game, 31-31, 26 seconds left to go. And after the Bengals really tried to get something going, they had a couple chances, the clock runs out on them, and we're headed to overtime. The first overtime primetime football game of the season, and the first one since God knows how long, because the primetime football games have been terrible, but Week 13 really changed that because we had a great Thursday night game, a great Sunday night game, and a great Monday night game. So maybe for the first time in the history of primetime football, all three hit in the same week. So we're going to overtime, tied at 31. And the Jacksonville Jaguars win the toss. The Bengals were able to call it, but they were unsuccessful there. And so C.J. Beathard and the Jaguars come back out on offense, and on a huge play here. Huge play. They work it around midfield. A couple nice third down conversions by C.J. Beathard in this offense. Another third down conversion needed here with about 6 minutes left to go in the ball game. 8 minutes left to go in the ball game. 6 minutes left to go in the ballgame. 3rd and 7 from the 45 of the Bengals. C.J. Beathard takes the snap. He's going to roll out to his right, and he's going to launch one deep down the right sideline. Calvin Ridley goes up and makes an unbelievable leaping catch down to the 2-yard line, but there's a flag. Offensive holding is the call. Play is nullified. No gain. 3rd and 17 now instead of a 1st and goal from the 2. And when I saw the replay of this hold on the right tackle, because C.J. Beathard had to roll out, obviously you need a little bit of help from your right tackle, but I didn't see a hold there, man. That's a tough call to get from the referees to blow this game. C.J. Beathard, honestly, he had that night, his first play was a rough one, fumbled, but his teammate Parker Washington was able to bail him out, get the ball back. That was unfortunate for him, but after that, he really settled in, was able to get his team going, drive them right down the field, kick that game-tying field goal, and that play was huge for them. That was a great throw on the run. That might have been the greatest throw I've ever seen C.J. Beathard make. Unfortunate, comes back from a hold. Next play gets stopped. They don't pick up the first down on 3rd and 17. They're forced to punt. So, Bengals get the ball with about 4 minutes to go here in overtime. Need to score because remember, there are ties in the NFL. Stupid, no reason for them not to play a second overtime, but there's no ties in the NFL. On a 2nd and 8 from their own 30-yard line, Jake Browning fakes the handoff, fires over the middle. Jamar Chase makes a juggling catch just around midfield. Unbelievable play. Clutch from Jamar Chase as that ball bounced off his right hand, his left, up into the air again, and he made the catch to secure it for a first down for the Bengals. Later on in the drive, on a 3rd down and 10, Browning throws to the left sideline to T. Higgins this time, who makes the catch, stays in bounds for a first down for the Bengals. Huge play there from Jake Browning and T. Higgins, setting up Evan McPherson later in this drive from 48 yards away with about 2 minutes left to go in this ball game. The 48-yard attempt is nailed right through the middle. Bengals win in a crazy overtime win, 34-31, take down the Jacksonville Jaguars, who if the Jacksonville Jaguars won this game, they would have taken over first place in the AFC. But the Cincinnati Bengals are able to take them down and move to 6-6 on the season, knocking the Jaguars to 8-4 down to that 4 seed in the AFC playoff picture. So, what a game. What a week of games, honestly. And now we're going to get into the rest of it with the NFL standings update. And like we always do, we'll start with the AFC East. Miami Dolphins improved to 9-3, and they absolutely pummeled the Washington Commanders in Washington, 45-15, and they take over that 1 seed in the AFC. And they got a couple huge other results from other AFC teams, one of them being that Jacksonville Jaguars game of the week that the Bengals were able to take down. That was a huge win for the Miami Dolphins to put them at the 1 seed in the AFC. The Buffalo Bills, they stay at 6-6. They had a bye. They're the 11th seed in the AFC right now. The New York Jets, they are 4-8. They lost to Atlanta in a gross, rainy game in East Rutherford, New Jersey at MetLife Stadium. They lost 13-8. Offense yet again fails to put up 10 points, unable to do anything. The New England Patriots, they might be even worse. They fall to 2-10. They lost to the Chargers 6-0. 6-0. Yeah, it was a 4.5-point spread for the Chargers. They covered it with 2 field goals. Absolutely gross game. And this is the 3rd straight game that the Patriots have given up 10 points or less. 3rd game in a row giving up 10 points or less, and they've lost all 3. That's unbelievable. They're the first team in the Super Bowl era ever to do that, and they're the first team to do that since the 1938 Chicago Cardinals, not the Arizona ones. The Chicago Cardinals were the last team to have 3 consecutive games giving up 10 points or fewer in 1938. Until this year's New England Patriots. That streak is still active, and I mean, they might do it again next week. NFC East now. The Philadelphia Eagles, they fall to 10-2 after a shocking defeat to the San Francisco 49ers at home, got absolutely smoked 42-19. They're still the 1 seed in the NFC, but a huge loss, and people are talking about them like they're done, and they have no chance anymore, and the Niners are just going to smoke them in the playoffs if they meet. I'm not sure if I'm convinced about that. I still believe in Jalen Hurts and his team, but ugly loss for the Philadelphia Eagles at home at Lincoln Financial Field to the 49ers. They could not stop any of their offensive weapons. Christian McCaffrey was going nuts. Debo had 3 touchdowns. Brandon Ayuk had a day. George Kittle was wide open on multiple occasions. Eagles had a very tough time stopping that Niners offense. The Dallas Cowboys improved to 9-3. They beat the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday Night Football 41-35, and like I said, all the primetime games this week were great games. Thursday night started it off. 41-35 final, comeback win for the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott improving his case for MVP of the NFL this year. And it was only the 5th game in the history of the NFL that had no punts. Not a single punt in this game. A couple of missed 4th down conversions by the Seahawks late in the game, but not a single punt. Only the 5th game in the history of football. It was the most points scored in a primetime game this season with 76 combined, and it was the most penalty yards in the game since 2021 with 257 combined. This was almost the game of the week, like I said, but had to edge it out with the Monday night game. And the Cowboys still sit at the 5th seed in the NFC. And I mean, they'd be really leading any other division besides the 49ers division. Now moving over to the New York Giants. They didn't play. They had a bye, 4-8. They stay there. The Washington Commanders, they lost to the Miami Dolphins to fall to 4-9. Their defense is atrocious, just letting Tyreek run right by them for 2 long touchdowns. Tyreek Hill on pace for 2,000 yards. He only needs 120 yards a game for the rest of the season to get 2,000 yards in the season, which is, I mean, that's very possible. I think he's going to have another 150-yard game, so that number could go down. Shifting over to the AFC North now. The Baltimore Ravens, they had a bye, but because of what happened in the AFC playoff picture this week, they fall to the 2 seed in the AFC. They were the 1 seed. The Pittsburgh Steelers suffer a defeat at home to the Arizona Cardinals, 24-10 to fall to 7-5. They're still the 5th seed in the AFC, but the offense did not look good. Kenny Pickett got injured in this game trying to dive for the pylon. I thought it was a head injury. It looked like he got hit in the head there, but apparently it was an ankle injury. So Kenny Pickett in a boot at the end of the game on the sideline, so not good for Steelers fans, but Mike Tomlin did say that it's not season ending. So hopefully he'll be back sooner than later. But they still sit at the 5 seed in the AFC at 7-5, but a bad loss at home to Arizona. The Cleveland Browns, they lost to the Los Angeles Rams 36-19. They fall to 7-5. They're a spot behind Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh beat them earlier in this year. Same record, but they're the 6th seed in the AFC. But the thing I want to talk about here is Joe Flacco was the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this week. And it was just a complete... I didn't know what I was watching. It just threw my brain off so much after watching him play for so long for that purple for Baltimore. Him playing on a division rival Browns team just did not sit right with me. And he made a couple nice plays in this game. Early on, he was playing pretty well. It looked like Joe Flacco of old days, but later on in the game, he threw a pretty bad pick to show you, he's kind of not prime Joe Flacco anymore. So Browns fall to the Rams, and the Rams all of a sudden are kind of hot. Cincinnati Bengals, they played our game of the week last night. They win it to go to 6-6. They win in overtime 34-31. Jake Browning had an absolute day. And this offense looked really, really good. And I've been saying it for the past 2 weeks now. They're done, right? Jake Browning told me to shut the hell up because he just had an unbelievable day. That offense looked like it was running with Joe Burrow. They had like 450 yards of total offense. Joe Mixon was going nuts. T. Higgins was having an okay day. Jamar Chase was going nuts. So, I mean, that is possible. If Jake Browning can do that every week, they got a chance. They're the 10 seed in the AFC, though, so they're going to have to make things happen now. NFC North now, the Detroit Lions, they get a bounce-back win after that Thanksgiving Day loss to the Green Bay Packers. They beat the New Orleans Saints 33-28, improved to 9-3. They're the 3 seed in the NFC, but this game looked like it was going to be a blowout early. It was 21-0 early on in this game in the first quarter. The Saints were able to bring it back a little bit. Derek Carr was getting booed heavily in this game early on. They were able to fight back, make it a respectable game, but the Lions are able to pull it out, improve to 9-3, 3 seed in the NFC. The Minnesota Vikings had a bye. They're still 6-5. They're the 6th seed in the NFC now. They actually moved up this week. The Green Bay Packers, they beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. We talked about that a little bit. Jordan Love had our plays of the week. 2 of them, 2 great throws on the same drive, almost back-to-back plays for him. They beat the Chiefs 27-19, and right now the Packers just slide into that 7th seed in the NFC. So, alive and well, the Green Bay Packers, 6-6 in the playoff picture as we speak right now. Jordan Love has looked unbelievable over the past couple weeks. Great against Detroit on Thanksgiving Day, and great on Sunday night, against Kansas City at Lambeau Field. 2 amazing throws, one on a 4th and 1 to Romeo Doubs, just absolutely dropping it in the bucket in between 3 defenders right into his lap, and then an unbelievable throw just over the outstretched hand of the defender into the only spot it really could have been for a Christian Watson touchdown. And the Bears, they're 4-8. They had a bye. The Bears, they're probably going to have 2 top 10 picks this year, or top 5 picks this year. Now we'll move to the AFC South. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they fall to 8-4. They lost on Monday Night Football in overtime to the Cincinnati Bengals, 34-31 in our game of the week. And they fall down to the 4 seed in the AFC. So that shows you the teams that are leading the AFC right now are very, very tight. If they won that game, Jacksonville, they would have been the 1 seed in the AFC. But they lost it, and they're the 4 seed. So that tells you that all 4 of those teams are within 1 game of each other, very close. The Indianapolis Colts, they improved to 7-5, as this was another game of the week candidate. They beat Tennessee 31-28 in overtime. Jonathan Taylor got hurt last week. He was not available. Zach Moss had to play. Gardner Minshew led the offense and had a crazy day. This Colts special teams unit blocked two punts in a row. The first one went for a touchdown. The second one set the offense up already inside the red zone, ended up in a touchdown for the offense. And they had but the offense for the Colts, after the first punt return, block punt for the touchdown, they went for two to make it a 3-point game, picked off, returned the other way. So a defensive 2-point conversion, a lot of weird plays in this game. Colts are able to pull it out 31-28 in overtime. Huge play late in the game from Gardner Minshew to Alec Pierce for a huge gain down to inside the 5-yard line. And the game-winning touchdown by Michael Pittman seals it for the Colts. And the Colts are 7-5 in the 7th seed in the AFC. Would be in the playoffs if the season ended right now. So right now, the Colts and the Packers, 2 7 seeds right now in both respective leagues, would be in the playoffs if the season ended today. The Houston Texans, they improved to 7-5 in a huge game, probably their biggest game of the season so far, against Denver at home. Sealed it off with a game-winning pick, 22-17. The defense looked very good in this game. Derek Stingley Jr., Will Anderson from Alabama, both unbelievable players, looking very good, but an offensive weapon. Tank Dell broke his leg on a touchdown run by Dameon Pierce. He got rolled up on, broken fibula. That's a huge blow to this Texans offense, as C.J. Stroud and Tank Dell has formed a great connection. Nico Collins is going to have to pick up some of that slack. We'll see how it happens. He did yesterday, but we'll see what happens as it moves forward. Texans are 1 game behind Indianapolis, 8th seed in the AFC. They are still very well alive. The Titans fall to 4-8 as they lose in OT to Indianapolis. Just touched on that game a little bit. 2 touchdowns for Derrick Henry early on in this game, but he left the game early with a concussion. So he's in concussion protocol. Derrick Henry, we'll see if he plays next week, but 2 touchdowns again for the 2nd straight week. Moving over to the NFC South, probably the weakest division in football this year. The Atlanta Falcons, they got a win to improve to 6-6. They beat the New York Jets 13-8, and they claim the 4 seed in the NFC right now, obviously, because that's not going to get you anything besides the 4 seed. This NFC South is probably going to be won by a team that's 500, maybe even 1 game under. So we'll see what happens here, as this really, anyone can win this except for the Panthers now. The Buccaneers, they just popped ahead of the New Orleans Saints to improve to 5-7. They beat Carolina 21-18 in a pretty sloppy game. They don't look great over the past couple weeks, but Mike Evans does. He had a long touchdown in this game. He just eclipsed 1,000 yards for the 10th time in his career, 10th straight season with 1,000 yards, and he's only been in the league for 10 years. So he has 1,000 yards in every single season that he's been in. And the only other person to do that in the history of the NFL is Jerry Rice. So elite company for Mike Evans, and I think he's automatically a first ballot Hall of Famer, even if he probably retired next year. But he's going to continue to have 1,000 yards every year, probably for the time he plays or for the time until he turns like 35. But Mike Evans, unbelievable. Bucks go to 5-7, 2nd place in the NFC South. New Orleans Saints, they fall to 5-7. They lose to Detroit 33-28. They went down very, very early, 21-0, but they were able to call their way back to make this a game. It was 24-21 and a point. But late in this game, Derek Carr threw a check down to Alvin Kamara and got absolutely smoked by his old teammate with the Raiders, Bruce Irvin. And Derek Carr has a rib injury, a back injury, and he's in concussion protocol. Trifecta for Derek Carr, so that's not very good. Jameis came in. The Jameis Winston experience started right away, as Jameis's first completion was a tipped ball. It was going right to the defender. Pass that was going to be picked off right to the defender, tipped into the air by another defender, right into the hands of Chris Olave. That was his first completion of the day. Jameis Winston experience started off early, but the Saints lose to Detroit and fall to the 11th seed in the NFC. And they're going to have to figure it out right now, or, they're going to be in jeopardy of falling away, but Atlanta might not make that gap any bigger. And the Panthers, they lose to the Tampa Bay Bucks 21-18. They actually had a chance to come back and tie this game or win it late, but unable to. And they are the first team officially eliminated from playoff contention. And I know I said that earlier. I think I said it last week, but I was wrong. They actually had a chance, and they had a chance to host a playoff game still because of how bad that NFC South was. But they lose to Tampa Bay, a divisional opponent. Officially, their season is over. Well, not really, but it's not over, but they cannot be in the playoffs. First team eliminated. And the AFC West, sad stuff going on over here. The Chiefs, this isn't part of it, but sad stuff in general. The Chiefs, they fall to 8-4. They lose to Green Bay on Sunday Night Football in Lambeau. Patrick Mahomes' first trip to Lambeau Field did not go so well. Taylor Swift was in the building too, so maybe that curse is for that, whatever that influence or her helping the Chiefs win, that's over. And the Chiefs fall to the 3 seed in the AFC. They had a chance to go down all the way to 4, but Jacksonville lost. They take the 4 seed. Very weird game. This game kind of came down to the wire, and on that last drive, there was arguably four missed calls in a row. One of them, Patrick Mahomes was running out of bounds for our first down, but he didn't get out of bounds, and the guy hit him. The safety of the corner hit him from Green Bay, called it a flag, even though it wasn't. Next play was that egregious pass interference on Marquez Valdes-Scantling that they didn't call. Right after that, Marquez Valdes-Scantling was going out of bounds backwards, getting dragged down. Stopped the clock for some reason. There was only 19 seconds left when that happened, so that could have really impacted the ending of that game. And then there was arguably a pass interference on Kelsey in the end zone, but there's pass interference on every single Hail Mary ever. So I don't think that can be called, but officiating at the end of that game was not very good. 2 missed calls arguably for both sides in the last minute of that game, so you have to get that figured out, right? Broncos 6-6. They lost to Houston 22-17. They're the 9 seed in the AFC right now, just outside behind Houston and behind Indianapolis, so they're still alive here. But 6-6, Russ threw, I think, 3 picks in this game, 2 of them to Darryl Stingley Jr., and 1 of them at the end of the game on the last play in the end zone. The Chargers improved to 5-7. They beat New England 6-0. Like I said, the spread was 4.5 for the Chargers, and they covered it. 2 field goals because the Patriots didn't score any points. But the sad news here is that the Raiders, being on a bye, not playing, stayed at 5-7, but we lost to the Chargers earlier this year, so the Chargers going to 5-7 puts them ahead of us, and the Raiders are last in the AFC West for now. Very unfortunate to see. Now we'll go to the NFC West, last division we got here to round it all up. The San Francisco 49ers with a statement win at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. They improved to 9-3. They absolutely beat the hell out of Philly in Philly, 42-19. Looked dominant. And maybe they proved what they would have done last year if they had Brock Purdy playing in the NFC Championship game. I don't think that's fair to say, but maybe. Debo had an awesome day, 3 touchdowns. They could not tackle him. He ran for one where he was untouched. He caught one where they missed a tackle it was like a crossing route, missed tackle, and then he just ran through and by everyone. And then the last one, screened to him, and he just ran through and by everyone. So Debo, explosive as ever. McCaffrey did good. Ayuk was all over the place. Kittle making big plays too. Offense looked extremely dynamic against the Eagles. But the Eagles just got Darius Leonard, so maybe that'll help that defense a little bit. Los Angeles Rams, they improved to 6-6. They just beat the Cleveland Browns 36-19. They beat Joe Flacco. Matt Stafford looked really, really good in this game. He threw an absolute dot to Puka Nacua for like a 70-yard touchdown, and it was a crazy window, wildly small window. When you see the behind angle, like from behind Matt Stafford, why he threw that ball, I have no idea. Don't know how he was going, that's my spot. Laser. Couldn't do that. Couldn't tell you that. And the Rams, they've won 3 in a row now. They're the 8th seed in the NFC. They're 1 spot out of the playoffs. 1 spot behind Green Bay. The Rams, I don't know. They jumped ahead of Seattle because Seattle lost to Dallas on Thursday night, 41-35. Talked about that game. They fall to 6-6 and behind the division rival Los Angeles Rams. Not a singular punt in this game. 5th time in the history of the NFL with no punts. And at the end of this game, there were some key 4th downs by Dallas against Seattle to kind of seal this game up. Late touchdown from Dak to Ferguson. Not sure about his first name, but he scored the game-winning touchdown. This was almost the game of the week, like I said. No punch for the 5th time in the history of the NFL. Seahawks fall to the 9th seed in the NFC. And the Cardinals, they improved to 3-10. They've won for only the 3rd time this year. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-10 in Pittsburgh. So playoff team on the road. Impressive stuff there for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. And Trey McBride had an unbelievable day. Unbelievable day. He had I think 12 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. He had one drive where I think he had 7 catches on the drive and scored the touchdown to end it. Crazy day for Trey McBride. And that game was really weird. There was 4 weather delays. They kept bringing the teams in and out of the locker rooms, bringing the fans in and out of the concourse. And when was the last time you saw a weather delay in a football game? This is football. Just play the game. But that's going to wrap up our standings update, and that's going to wrap up this week's episode. Week 13 NFL season comes and goes, and we'll see you next week for Week 14. If you want to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that good stuff, at the Bobby Valentine Sports Show. If If you have any questions about Bobby Valentine Sports Academy, hit up the bvacademy.com. And that's it for us, episode 29, week 13, NFL season. Peace out.